inward burn. And the way that's done is just by going to the prograde position and then rotating minus 90 degrees, which will put us at 270. And this is something that I could have done with TransX. And in fact, I will, just to show you. I've already done the plane change. I couldn't figure out how to get TransX to show me what I wanted it to show me, so we'll forget that part. And instead just do the maneuver with the inward burn. So it's basically right where I want it. And if I click on view, let me reset the time. Oops. The time reset. Now I want check all my variables outward. And negative outward is the same thing as inward. Okay, that's 0. Okay.
Translation, rotation.
So now a little bit of burn here, and I might even be able to just use translation thrusters for this. Oops. Actually, I have rotation on still.
Translation.
We'll bring the periapsis down to where I want, and if I want to get a better idea of a target periapsis, I can bring up the ISS, and let's say 365 is my target. And we'll just go with that. So, basically done with TransX. I didn't actually use the maneuver that it gave me, just because it was easier just to do it this way. And because TransX admittedly confuses the crap out of me a lot of times. So the next thing, the last thing I gotta do, I'm just going to fast forward now to the periapsis carefully, and I'm currently perfectly in line with the ISS. TransX was a huge asset, except for that last correction, but other than that, it was a huge asset for getting me in with my relative inclination down to 0. This may slip a little bit as I approach the Earth. If it does, that's okay. I will make any additional adjustments that are needed at the same time as I do my deceleration burn. So let's warp time ahead to the periapsis. See there, it's slipping a tiny bit. I don't want to warp ahead any faster because I have a tendency to overshoot things when I warp ahead too fast. $13, $12, $11. I'm watching the time to periapsis. 5, 4, 3, 2. Let me come down a little bit in preparation. See, our relative inclination slipped to ½ a degree, or actually I guess that's not quite a ½ degree. That's, I don't know my percentages very well, I'm sorry. Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Getting close enough. Let me go to real time and go to retrograde. when this gets to about 110 seconds or so, then I'll start making some maneuvers here. So what I'm going to do, let me come back to real time just to explain this. What I'm going to do, I'm coming up to the ascending node, so I'm going to do my deceleration burn, and I'm also going to have a little bit of pitch up so that I can get rid of this last little bit of relative inclination. And you don't have to do it this way, by the way. If this is too confusing, you can just circularize your orbit at this point and take care of this later. But if you want to be a little more efficient about it, you can go ahead and do it this way. So at this point now,
rotation,
let me pitch up a little bit. And I'm just going to start my deceleration burn. And I'm pitched the wrong direction.
translation, rotation,
I bet a lot of people were watching that and going, ha ha ha, you moron. Actually, not a lot of people. There will probably only ever be 20 people ever that watch this video, if that.
translation, rotation,
There we go. So now as I'm doing this deceleration, I'm also improving my relative inclination at the same time, and that's as good as it's going to get. Once it swings straight forward like that, it won't get any better. Now I've got to go back to the regular retrograde position and burn. Actually waited a little too long there. I might actually end up not being able to circularize this orbit all the way. On this passage. But that's basically the end of the video. You can see coming back to the Earth with this kind of planning. I mean, it was obviously, you know, it's a little hard to explain all this stuff while I'm doing it and to do it smoothly and eloquently, but you get the idea. If I had just come back to the Earth with no planning, my relative inclination to the ISS would be way out to lunch. I mean, it would be, you know, possibly as much as like 70 degrees off plane. And so if I wanted to rendezvous with the ISS, yeah, I'm definitely going to miss this periapsis. I'm going to have to go around a little bit. So now I'm going to have to watch my periapsis. Once it starts going down, I'm going to have to stop this burn, circle around the Earth, and finish circularizing the orbit on the next passage. But for now, I'm still okay. But anyway, as I was saying, you know, if I had just come back to Earth with no planning, and I wanted to rendezvous with the ISS, then, you know, I would be back here with a relative inclination of just, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even as much as 75 degrees or something like that. You know, you could be almost completely on two different waves. And watching my periapsis. Once it gets to maybe 355 or so, I'm going to stop this burn. Maybe I'll catch it all in one burn. That would be nice if I'd started it a little bit sooner. I definitely would have, but I was trying to explain things while I was going. Alright, 355. That's all I'm gonna that's all I'm gonna do on that burn, because if I keep burning, it's gonna drive my periapsis really far down. So just for the sake of completion, let me go ahead and warp time ahead to this ascending node. And at the ascending node, of course, we go anti-normal. And with just
translation,
a little bit of translation, I'm going to be able to bring that little tiny bit of relative inclination to 0. burn. And there we go. Burning. And you'll notice this needle, or whatever you want to call it, like I said, it'll swing as that gets to 0. That's kind of what I was talking about out there at that first mid-course correction. You see how that just swung rapidly? That's how I know I'm now in the right plane. And with that mid-course correction that I did, when you see that start to swing around, that's when you know you're at the right plane. So there you have it. If I bring up map MFD, of course got to reference the Earth and display orbit plane, target the ISS, and we are just right there. I mean, dead center. I mean, obviously at this point you could rendezvous with it with very little difficulty coming back from the moon. So that's it. I hope you got something out of this video, and if not, I hope you at least enjoyed watching it. If you survived the whole video, well, congratulations.